I think what you're going to find is, and I spoke to Russell T Davies. I think, where was I now? It was at the South Bank at the BFI.
Yeah.
And strange enough, it's before, I think he just finished his last drama. I think it's A Sin. And he said to me, we started talking about Doctor Who, and he goes, well, what do you think? And I said, well, really, I think it's probably finished on television. I can't see. I said, maybe get it to the big screen. I said, yes, maybe there's an idea on the big screen for it. I said, but, where'd you go unless you dig around? And he just went, he was kind of, oh, well, what would you do? It's more interesting what I would do with it. And I didn't have an idea for it at that time, not a clear idea. And I don't think he did. And I think, looking back, that's probably why he asked me, because he was short, very, very short of ideas. But I did congratulate him. I wasn't a huge fan when the series came back with Christopher Eccleston, because I didn't think it was as good as it should be. There was a lot of the classic stuff taken away. It didn't feel like the same show to me at all.
Yeah.
But the one thing I did congratulate him on, I said, but the problem thing is, Russell, you got an audience, so I can't argue with you.
Yeah.
I'm a fan, but you got an audience, and that's what a television program's there to do. You had got an audience, and you've maintained it. So, but I think for him, it was a mistake to come back towards the end of his tenure. And this is a term John Nathan Turner used. You are hooed out.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you start recycling your own ideas, and you start reaching out for old ideas and mashing it up. And it's the audience just watch it and think, this is drivel. What is this? This is absolute drivel. And the audience numbers, I think, speak for themselves. First of all, people love drama. It doesn't matter what it is. They love drama, but it has to have believable characters. Yeah. Someone you can invest in. If you feel those characters are not real, or it's just a bit of fluff, or someone's nod, wink, wink, they'll just change the channel. And what the program's become, which is not what it was set out as in 1963, and that's a long time ago, but this is what the show is. It's a science fiction series. That's what it said. Doctor Who, new science fiction series. It should be science fiction. It shouldn't be fantasy. It shouldn't be, anything else. Otherwise, you're losing the definition of what it is. If you can't define what Doctor Who is, then go and make another show, because you don't understand the formula. The formula that was set out in 63, the character himself is an anti-establishment character. That's who he is. He's not a hero who saves planets, right? He might be there because he needs some, he needs some plutonium to make the TARDIS move off the planet. And while he's there, he might do something. But has he done it for the right reason? That's a far more interesting character. He's an anti-establishment character. Probably the only departure from that mold would probably be the John Pertwee Doctor, who was a slight departure because he was more an establishment person. And that was flipped over again when Tom Baker took over, and he obviously headed back out into space again. But that's who he is. He's an anti-establishment character. He's not someone that walks down the road with bright things on going, look at me. He's not that kind of person. He moves in the shadows. That's a far more interesting character. Thought the Master to be. And I've always thought it's a missed opportunity with an audience, because you've got a character in life. There's no good and bad. There's not, white and black. There's always a mixture. You've got a good character and he's gone the wrong way for a certain reason. And I've always thought the Master to be like that.
Yeah.
And that's someone with a lot of charm, but at the same time, he's, he'd kill you, and without a thought, but he'd be really charming with you while he was doing it.
Absolutely.
And that's the kind of character. The things that were laid down and made the character initially successful, I think, would make the character as successful today. At the same time, Russell T Davies said before Shooty Gatway series aired, this is not for the old fans. We're after a Gen Z. Yeah. He told the fans, you're out. Let's just get this straight. And this is important for everyone. No matter the thing with Doctor Who, and this has been kicked away a bit. If you're 9 or 90 years of age, it's a show for you. Yeah, this is a show that appeals. It's a family show. Basically, it's a family show. It's supposed to have a broad appeal. There are plenty of characters and things in there, but don't overcomplicate it. And it's. I think what with the problem you've got is you've got fans in charge, and they overthink it, they overcomplicate it. Where you get a producer who comes in, who's maybe not a fan, but he's a drama guy, and he's there to drive it forward. And it's lacked that since it's come back. It's lacked it. You put this into a context away from a fan. William Hartnell is largely responsible for the success of Doctor Who, and the BBC will tell you that themselves. Don't say the Daleks, but it was Bill Hartnell. Now, Bill Hartnell left the show because of poor health.
Yeah.
They had good writers in there. It wasn't just Patrick Troughton, it was the director.
And also
that made that change over. Now, Troughton, towards the end of his tenure, the show was failing. It was, and this is what I find, this is a fabulous story, because what I find interesting, the show's dying towards the end of the 60s. It's losing its audience. The script editor, Terence Dix, he stays with the show. This is a failing show. BBC goes, listen, we want to replace this. Someone come up with some other ideas, want to get rid of it, and they couldn't find another idea. They approached Ron Moody to play the third Doctor. Ron Moody turns it down. John Pertwee gets the job because he was second or third on the list. And it goes into colour. And all of a sudden, this thing gets a new lease of life. You know, you've got a completely different character. He's very flamboyant. He's very good on the eye. The scripts are good. The scripts go straight in again. The writers are all there. They're all established. You know, and the thing takes off again. And Pertwee makes it a bigger success. In the 70s, you know, the audience were getting up to 8 and 9 million, where they've been like, you know, down to 4 and 5.
Yeah.
So I never. What I look at is Doctors on their tenure. How popular were they? What were the viewing figures they were getting? Hartnell was successful. Troughton was successful. He got it to Pertwee. Pertwee handed it to Bacon, and it went really massively successful at that point also. I always go with something Verity Lambert said about Tom Baker, and that is he's the most faithful to the concept that was laid down in 1963.
Yeah.
And that's Verity Lambert. That's who the character is. He's unpredictable, but that's who the character's supposed to be. If he's just a straight, you know, it's Doctor Who, I think, is not a straight acting part. The kind of character, the kind of actor that plays that part is not a person you would meet on the street every day. That's an ordinary person. It's someone extraordinary, and there's something about them. They've got a lot more money to spend now with, you know, since 2005. They weren't stuck with, you know, a sitcom budget, basically, working at the BBC. And the show wasn't, you know, highly thought of, you know, really. And, you know, I'd like to see what they would produce, you know, under those, you know, conditions. It's easy to look back 30, 40 years ago. I mean, I was watching one of the David Tennant ones a couple of days ago. What was it called now? The one with the frame with the what's it called? Cassandra in it, the character Cassandra.
Oh yes. She's in two. She's in New Earth, but she's
Earth. It's New Earth, yeah. And if you look at the CGI at the beginning of that, with, you know, the flying cars, it's embarrassing. It's dated.
Yes,
it's dated badly. You know, and you know, you can look back at Doctor Who from the 60s or the 70s or even the 80s. In fact, fandoms got into the program, you know, through the BBC, through you know, through fans meeting up, a certain group of fans. You know, I think this was always planned, going back in the mid 80s, to sort of get control of the program and take it in the direction they wanted to take it in. And I think it's a dangerous thing to do. I don't think anyone at the BBC realised if you've got fans, they just live in that world of just Doctor Who all the time and rewatching things and making links that aren't even there. I mean, if there was a link with, you know, Terence Dix made it very, very clear. The War Chief is not the Master. He made it clear. He wrote the scripts. It's his story. You can't go back. I mean, it'd be like me going to the Louvre. And you know what? I think the Mona Lisa needs a moustache. Doesn't she look much better with a moustache? I can't do that. It's someone else's creation. It's a work of art. Just leave it as it is. You know, it's a piece of television history. You cannot change what somebody else created. It's wrong. And it's a fan thing. You know, it's not. It will not go down well. You know, in the future.
The original.
If you look at Doctor Who, if I said to you, you know, Doctor Who now is a gay man. Doctor Who is played as a gay man. and there was one recent episode where he disappeared behind the bush. We know what he disappeared behind the bush for, but that's Doctor Who. That's for a modern audience. I don't think it is. That's absolutely not what the program's about. If you want to make that program, go and make it, but don't put the emblem of Doctor Who on it, because you're making something else, and the audience isn't there for it, which is proven this last series. And people, of course, vote with defeat because they don't go and watch the programs. They'll just switch it off. It's not what it's supposed to be. I think the problem is here. I think with Doctor Who, I think probably Russell's guilty of this. Is he's brought his own lifestyle, his own personality, and his own beliefs straight to this program. I mean, Russell's own statement on this is gay rights and trans rights are more important than Doctor Who. Yeah, but then why are you making Doctor Who? What are you doing that for? This is not, a protest program. You're killing it. You are killing this program. I think the one thing that disturbed me with Doctor Who this time, I mean, I'm a dad. I've got, and my youngest is 7 years old. I tried to get her to watch Jodie, not interested. But this time around, I watched an interview with Russell, and Russell said, "We've got to get to the 5-year-olds. We've got to get them. We've got to show that this stuff is normal." And I watched the episodes, and I thought, "Hang on a minute, you're indoctrinating kids here. You're trying to say the trans and all these other things, and sex and you put it into this is wrong. You're trying to indoctrinate children here. This is completely and utterly wrong." And I think
how you integrate it.
I think that's why people have walked away from it. Walked away from it. The audience here. The character of Doctor Who is not a gay man. He's an alien from another planet. He's an enigma. All of a sudden, he's a gay black man played by a gay black man. And I've no problem with anyone of color playing the character, but why is the character suddenly chasing sex? That is a complete subversion of the character created by Sidney Newman and Verity Lambert. I think what you'll find, Russell T Davies just makes up what he wants to say on the hoof. And if you listen to what he said a week ago, it completely contradicts what he said a week before that, because he just talks nonsense. John Nathan Turner was not a writer. He was the wrong person to take over Doctor Who in 1980. Absolutely diametrically opposed to that. He shouldn't have got that job. He got that job because he had some information on the head of drama. That's why he got the job. Otherwise, he wouldn't have got that job. I'll be honest with you. The retcon of DAVROS, I thought that was a joke. And literally, when Russell T Davies came on and said afterwards, well, through the sort of the lens of today, where and I thought, to make someone evil in a wheelchair, the wrong thing to do. And I thought, this is a parody, surely. I think Russell has run out of ideas, because any fresh showrunner to Doctor Who would certainly not want to bring anything back. You're looking at new ideas, and if you're going to bring something back from the past, the first rule is it a good idea? Have you got a script? Does it move the character along? If it doesn't fulfill any of those things, leave it alone, because what you're going to do, you're going to lessen the impact of that character. You're going to lessen the impact of it, and you lose the value of it. You lose the value of that character. Don't do it. It's a waste of time. Fans want it. The biggest thing fans always say, and this really annoys me, let's bring back. Only bring something back, A, if it's a good idea, and A, again, have you got a good script? And, does it move that character along? Otherwise, leave it alone. What we need to do, we need to get rid of the Fitzroy Tavern gang that have literally blighted Doctor Who since before 2005 and have their claws sunk deeply into it. Why do we have the same people since 2005 right till now, doing a roster and coming back on the show? If you look at the people from, the Fitzroy Tavern back in the day, woe and behold, they're the same people that have been involved in Doctor Who right the way up. It needs a change. It needs those people to be put out to pasture, and we need proper drama people involved. Proper drama people. Get the fandom out. And Mal Young, he executive produced Doctor Who when it came back in 2005, and he said to me, I had a big row with Russell T Davies. I said, why? He said, well, I wanted to bring Tom Baker back. He said, I thought we should bring the show back with Tom Baker. I thought he was still around. He was looking good. He was, I thought he was fabulous. He said there was even, a meeting with his agents, but Russell was adamant that the answer was no. So then, we eventually wasn't the first choice. I won't mention any names any further now, but he wasn't the first. Chris wasn't the first choice. If you look at the writing he's done before It's a Sin, his shows were bombing. Years and Years was a failure. A lot of other shows he's done were a failure. They were a success on Channel 4, late night Channel 4. But for mainstream television, I don't think he's a writer for mainstream, family viewing. I don't think he's that fit. Now you've got Doctor Who and its death throes, which it is literally. They need to go. I'll put money on they will not go. They'll pick another one of their number to come in again. And then people will go, oh, it's a new produce, but it won't be. It'll just be the same thing again, just changing chairs. And they all share the same.
Well, this is what I mean.
First of all, I'd say this. I feel sorry for Russell T Davies because he shouldn't have taken it on again. It was a mistake. He could have kept, I did Doctor Who and it was a success. Walked away, but he's come back. And basically what he's done, he's been given too much power. I would say the programme now needs to stop. It needs somebody to come in, have a think. If they're going to give it another go, it needs to have a team of writers assembled that can develop stories. And only when that is ready, then, maybe continue. Globally, the sale of Doctor Who, and it's showing on the global audience, it's disappeared without trace. It was popular in some, Bahamian island for about a week and then vanished.
Yeah.
So, and what these people look at, and especially not the BBC, because they've got an endless flow of cash from the license fee, but Disney aren't like that. They've just pulled the plug on, these Star Wars series, which were far more successful than Doctor Who. So I think Doctor Who, they'll just get chopped.
Yeah.
I've no doubt in my mind that decision's already been made. The people who did the colorization did a fabulous job. Great. It was great. There are a lot of colour photographs that exist for the war game, so you've got a great colour palette to work on there. I think my issue came across with that, and I think a lot of people's did. I think the narrative of the story was changed, and it felt like there were two fans in a bedroom who were totally obsessed with something, and they saw it their way. And you're kind of not there to do that. This has already been made. Terrence Dicks wrote it. And Malcolm Hulke as well. They wrote it together. It's their work. You don't change other people's work. That's how it is. Yeah, I get it's 10 episodes long. It is probably too long for a modern audience. But then if you want someone to come in and edit that down, it has to be done from a dramatic point of view. The narrative of the story has to work. And, they keep saying, well, it's for Gen Z and it's for these new generation of people. But the people that are editing it aren't of that generation. The people editing it and involved are 60 years old, and I just don't get it. It's a professional job. The narrative of the story has to work. And I just think a lot of the story was lost. A lot of the momentum in the story was lost, and I felt it was a missed opportunity. If it's going to be edited, why do we have to have a fan editing it? There are people out there with far more experience, and it just rings of jobs for my mates, jobs for the boys, and it's not about fandom. It should be taken away from that. Okay, we're going to edit this down so it works for a modern audience. So that means Joe Public, who doesn't watch Doctor Who, does this story make sense? Now, if a Doctor Who fan watches it and thinks, oh, half the plot's missing, and he doesn't get it, then a member of the Joe Public certainly going to be going, well, what's this?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to make sense. So it's going to be even less so. It really is.